Alright, I think it's time I make some bold predictions for the 2022-23 season. This is a video that I've done in each of the past 3 or 4 years now. I think it's a really fun concept because it's something you don't have to take too seriously, and it's also the kind of video that I can look back on and react to for another video later on in the season when the season's almost over and see how my predictions made out. I also want to give you guys a heads up, there's a post on my community tab right now asking for your guys' bold predictions for the upcoming season, because once I'm done this video, in the next day or two, I'm going to make one reacting to your guys' bold predictions. So if you want to have a chance to be featured in that video, go check out the post on the community tab. Now let's get things started with my first bold prediction for the upcoming season. The Boston Bruins miss the playoffs. I know a lot of my Bruins subscribers are probably going to be pretty upset with this video now, but again, don't take these too seriously. Some of my reasons for making this bold prediction: number one, the Atlantic Division got a lot tougher with the additions the Senators and Red Wings made over the offseason. The Boston Bruins games against those teams are not going to be as easy this year. I feel like most of us are pretty confident in the fact that the top 3 in the Atlantic will be some combination of Tampa, Florida, and Toronto, so that means teams like Boston, Detroit, Ottawa, they're going to be competing for those wildcard spots, and they're not just going to be competing with each other, you also have to compete for those wildcard spots with the Metro Division, and I would say the Metro Division got better as well when you look at teams like the Columbus Blue Jackets adding Johnny Gaudreau. I fully expect the New Jersey Devils to take a step in the right direction this season as well, and probably the biggest reason why I made this bold prediction: Boston's going to be severely undermanned for the first couple months of the season. Both Charlie McAvoy and Brad Marchand, who are two of the most important players on the Boston Bruins, are expected to be out until at least December 1st. You also have a guy like Matt Grzelcyk, who's a top 4 defenseman on this team, who's expected to be out until at least November 1st. Now, it certainly does help that they were able to bring back both Bergeron and David Krejci. That helps them down the middle tremendously, but those guys are both a year older. They're in their mid to late 30s now. When are we going to start to see that decline in Bergeron's game? When it happens, I don't think it's going to be a dramatic one, because his play style, how smart he is, his hockey IQ, his two-way prowess, I feel like that's going to make him a valuable player until the day he just decides to stop playing. But also, how is David Krejci going to fare after taking a year off in the NHL? Now, he still obviously played professionally over in the Czech Republic, but that league is nowhere near the level the NHL is, of course. So those are the main reasons why I'm making this bold prediction, why I'm saying the Boston Bruins will miss the playoffs. Again, Bruins fans, don't dislike the video, don't take this too seriously, it's just for fun. Moving on now to bold prediction number 2, somebody other than Austin Matthews or Alexander Ovechkin wins the Rocket this season, so leads the league in goals. Now, that doesn't sound like that bold of a prediction, saying somebody other than just 2 guys will win the Rocket this year, but the last time somebody not named Ovechkin or Matthews led the NHL in goals, it was the 2016-17 season when Crosby led the league with 44. So for the past 5 seasons, it's really been Ovechkin and Matthews that have owned the Rocket Richard trophy, so I'm going to go on a limb and say that changes this year. A couple of names I'll throw out there that I think could possibly win it aside from those 2. I think Kirill Kaprizov has the capability of being a 50-plus goal scorer. Leon Draisaitl for sure, he's been close a couple of times. David Pastrnak as well. Kyle Connor I think can score 50-plus. So those are definitely some of the names that I feel like would be most likely to win it if it's not one of Ovechkin or Matthews like it has been for the past 5 seasons. Next up, bold prediction number 3, Patrick Kane is traded to the Colorado Avalanche before the trade deadline. Now, it wouldn't have really been a bold prediction just to say Patrick Kane is going to get dealt before the deadline, because I mean, we all expect that to happen, so I wanted to pick an exact team that I think he could get moved to, and I really believe the Colorado Avalanche could make this happen. Of all the NHL teams that are legit contenders, the Colorado Avalanche have the most cap space of those teams. They have a little under $4 million right now in projected cap space, and the reason I say of all the contenders is because a team like the Red Wings or the Senators or the Ducks or the Sharks, teams like that, they don't really have any reason to be interested in a guy like Patrick Kane who's going into the final year of his deal. I honestly feel like the Colorado Avalanche would be the perfect fit. You look at their projected lineups right now, they kind of are still in need of a top 6 forward. Their projected second line right now is Comfer centering Lehkonen and Nichushkin. Love me some Arturi Lehkonen, he was fantastic for the Avalanche in the playoffs, but say if you're able to acquire a guy like Patrick Kane, slot him in on that second line right wing, bump Lehkonen down to the third line, bump a guy like O'Connor down to the fourth line, it just makes your team that much deeper. And like I said, I really believe Colorado is in a position as to where they could pull this off if they really want to go all in, really want to go for it again. They have their first round pick in the next 3 drafts. Like I also mentioned, they do have a little under $4 million in projected cap space. Now you might say, well, Patrick Kane's cap it is $10 million. You get Chicago to retain 50% of that knocks it down to about $5 million, and then you also only have to send a little over $1 million in cap space back to Chicago in the deal to make the money work. You could also not even do that and try to find a third team to retain some salary as well. Now, there is also something that has to be mentioned. Patrick Kane has a full no-move clause, so he can basically orchestrate a trade to wherever he wants, or maybe not go wherever he wants, but he can say if he doesn't want to go to a certain team. But I don't really think he'd have any problem going to the team that literally just won the Stanley Cup. The Avalanche are already one of the favorites to win the Stanley Cup heading into the upcoming season, so imagine you add Patrick Kane to that roster. I really haven't heard anything about Colorado at all being interested or in on Patrick Kane. A lot of the teams that have been rumored, the New York Rangers have been brought up a lot, the Maple Leafs a little bit, the Calgary Flames, but I really think a team like Colorado could swoop in and get this done before the deadline. I think he'd be a great fit on the team, and for all the reasons that I just mentioned, I think they can make it happen. Moving on now to bold prediction number 4. Every year I do this, I make a bold prediction about the Red Wings or about a Red Wings player. Last year I said Jacob Vrana would score 40 goals, and honestly I feel like he could have done it if he didn't injure his shoulder in training camp. But this year's Red Wings bold prediction, I'm going to say Moritz Seider is a Norris Trophy finalist. Now, I'm not going to get too outlandish and say that Seider will win the Norris in his sophomore season, because thinking he'll have a better year than a guy like Cale Makar is kind of crazy, but I really do believe he is capable of being a finalist for the award already. The NHL Network actually recently, I think it was yesterday or the day before, something like that, they released their top 20 defensemen heading into this upcoming season. Seider was already at number 11, so he's a borderline top 10 defenseman in the NHL after just his rookie year. I think it's only natural to assume he's going to progress and get better as a sophomore. I think the circumstances will be a little bit easier for him as well. Detroit's power play should improve, and with him being the power play quarterback, maybe that would inflate his point totals a little bit. I also fully expect him to have a consistent D partner this upcoming season, whether that is Ben Sherratt, whether that's Oli Mata. Both of those guys are upgrades from the likes of Danny DeKeyser, Nick Leddy, Jordan Oesterle, and just rotating between those three game after game. He never had a consistent D partner. I really believe the sky's the limit for Moritz Seider. He had 50 points as a rookie while doing his best defensively on a very poor defensive team. I think if he can get that point total up to around the 60 point mark, still be very effective defensively, the Red Wings improve as a team, I definitely think we'll hear his name in the Norris conversation. And now finishing off the video with my 5th and final bold prediction for the 2022-23 NHL season, the Columbus Blue Jackets make the playoffs. Obviously, the Blue Jackets were able to land the big fish this offseason. They signed Johnny Gaudreau, who was coming off of an MVP caliber season, finished second in the league in points, only behind McDavid. Adding a player like that can definitely take you to the next level, and it's not like the Columbus Blue Jackets were one of the worst teams in the league this past season. They were still competitive. I think they finished a couple of games under 500, maybe one or two. They have the makings of a really good core there in Columbus, especially after getting Johnny Gaudreau. You have the likes of Johnny Gaudreau playing with Patrick Laine. I think that's going to be super fun to watch. One of the league's best playmakers with one of the league's most lethal snipers. You also have a guy like Zach Werenski, who I think is capable of being a top 20 defenseman in the league if he's not already. Cole Sillinger should improve in his sophomore season. I fully expect Kent Johnson to be one of the best rookies in the league this year. And they also have a very solid goaltender in Elvis Merzlikins, who has had stints in his career so far where he's looked like one of the best goalies in the league. I remember he was on an absolute tear to start last season. If all goes well, I really believe this is a team that's going to be capable of fighting for a playoff spot down the stretch. My bold prediction is that they are going to get in. How I think it's going to work is 5 teams from the Metro make the playoffs this season and only 3 from the Atlantic. So I think both wildcard spots are going to go to Metro teams, one of which being the Blue Jackets. The only teams in the Metro that I would be 100% confident that will finish ahead of the Columbus Blue Jackets are the New York Rangers, the Carolina Hurricanes. I'll throw Washington in there, and then maybe Pittsburgh. But I really think Columbus, after adding Johnny Gaudreau, can be competing for that 4th or 5th spot in the Metro and one of those wildcard spots. So that is going to wrap up today's video. Those were 5 bold predictions for the 2022-23 NHL season. Like I said at the beginning, be sure to go check out the post on the community tab. Leave your bold predictions for the upcoming season under the post for a chance to be featured in an upcoming video. If you guys enjoyed today's video and you want to see more like this, if you guys enjoyed today's video and you're as excited as I am for the upcoming season, be sure to leave a like. That is the best way to show your support. And most importantly, if this was your first time checking out the channel and you want more NHL content just like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll talk to you guys all soon.